Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Paper Rocks live Google Hangout. I am Angela Mader, founder and chief philosopher of Fitlosophy, creators of Fitbook, and I have with me today the wonderful Whitney English, who is the creator of Day Designer. Hey, Whitney.
Hi, it's fun to be here with you. Thank you.
Yes, we're gonna have a great time today. So,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us. Just for everybody on the call, Whitney is awesome. She answered the Google Hangout with, one kid on the hip, one on the other side, and putting them down for a nap. So, talk about the perfect person to talk to us about prioritizing and goal setting and how to live this concept of a well-designed life as an entrepreneur, as a mom, as a wife, and as a just overall, fairly crazed, lot going on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's all crazy.
it's crazy. So me with no kids, I just have all the respect for the moms out there. I don't know how you do it. So we're here to talk to everyone today, Whitney, about goal setting. And the title is Paper Rocks because, as most people on this hangout know, I created Fitbook, you created Day Designer, both paper-based products, in an age where everything is going to apps. And the truth is, there's still a huge market, but also a huge group of people that follow this, pen to paper concept. And so what we're going to talk to everyone about today is what is some of the research behind that? What are some of the tips from two entrepreneurs who created products using these very concepts? And then how can we give them kind of tips and tricks to do exactly what Day Designer talks about, which is live this well-designed life and creating a blueprint for that. So it's going to be fun. We're going to dive right in. But before I kind of jump into that, I did want to introduce you, Whitney. I know I told everyone who you are, but people may or may not know, Whitney has started over a dozen companies. Is that correct, Whitney?
Yeah, there are a few.
Just a few. So I think that's amazing. You're a serial entrepreneur, an entrepreneur at heart, and all along the way, you've had 3 children. You're married. You continually are giving back to organizations that I know I follow, and I see you popping up here and there and offering things for entrepreneurs. I don't know how you do it all, but just so everybody knows, you've got a long history of not only just business success, but obviously part of what's made you successful is your ability to prioritize and set goals. So that's what I want to kind of get out of you today is how do you do it? And I come from a different perspective. As everyone knows, I created the Fitbook. So my planning and my goal setting comes more from the fitness and nutrition perspective. But I think bringing those two viewpoints together can really help everyone design not just, a well-designed life and a healthy lifestyle, but how do you apply these to all areas of your life? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So
Love it.
the first thing we're going to talk about is why pen to paper works. And I have a cool story about the first day I actually launched Fitbook to the public was at a trade show called IDEA in 2008. And Whitney, it was so amazing. I'm sitting there with my little booth, and on either side of me is one is an app company and the other is a technology device company. And here I am with my mom and my business partner, and I've got my books, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And that day, on that very day, the cover article on MSN and Yahoo that day was from Kaiser Permanente releasing research that people who wrote down their food lost double the amount of weight in the same amount of time. So people came to my booth,
Wow.
like, oh my gosh, they thought that was my article. They thought it was, they thought it was not my product. What?
Great PR team.
Oh, yeah, great PR team. Thanks.
Yeah.
So it was pretty good timing for me. But that was obviously kind of eye-opening to me that, okay, this is based on research, and I knew it worked for me personally. And obviously I knew research showed that certain things work and don't work. But honestly, it wasn't because, I was brilliant or anything. It was, I use this product. Why not create something for other people? So before we kind of jump into that, that's kind of why I created Fitbook. It was something I used. It was something I loved. Was Day Designer kind of that same concept for you?
Day Designer really was born out of a time in my life when there was a lot of chaos. And I kind of laugh now because you saw me right as I answered your Google call, like you saw chaos in the background, like We're listing our house tomorrow, so there's people in here like measuring rooms, cleaning carpets. It's insane. But the time in my life when I created Day Designer was it was crazy for different reasons. We were struggling. My husband and I were struggling in our family and in our marriage, really with organization. I mean, that was the root of the problem was, and we still fight it. It's a constant battle, but as the number of people in our lives increased, i.e. children, it was harder to keep track of things. And my husband was working 3 jobs at the time, and I never knew where he was or what his schedule was. And we just needed a place for everything, the to-dos, the schedules, all of it needed to be in one spot. And really, I mean, I tried a gajillion planners. There was nothing on the market like Day Designer when I created it. And so it really came from a place of genuine authenticity and purpose. And I was trying to solve my own problem, and I really am delighted that it solved a ton of other people's problems as well, because we're 3 years into it now. But I looked around my desk, and there were all these little sticky notes everywhere, and I just thought,
Yeah.
this is the problem, like the crap everywhere. And so it was really all about pulling that all together and just using it in an organized fashion.
Yeah, and I think one thing too is, it was born out of necessity, but then over time you perfected it, and it's so well thought out. I mean, even the little details are just little tiny things that I noticed, partly because I did the same thing with Fitbook, which was, okay, well, there needs to be a box for this because people may forget to take their multivitamin, because I forget to take my multivitamin. And there needs to be a reminder to, set your goals for the week, things like that. So it's very well thought out. So some of the things one of the things I want to talk about, there's the planner that addresses, your life and your schedule and your planning. And then there's Fitbook that addresses your fitness and health and nutrition. But really, goal setting is something that you and I both know is something that applies across all areas of your life. So I'm going to read one study that we have, because a lot of this for me is I need people to know that this is research backed. This isn't, oh, Angela and Whitney think paper's awesome. No, paper rocks for very legitimate reasons. So I'm sure a lot of people have heard of this, but the Harvard MBA study that they did in 1979. So they asked graduate students, and they asked this verbatim, have you set clear written goals for your future and made plans to accomplish them? The result, only 3% of the people had actually written them down and made plans. 13% had goals, but they did not write them down. And 84%, these are Harvard graduates, 84% of people had no goals at all. Now, here's the coolest part I love about this whole thing. And if you don't set goals, this is reason to right now. 10 years later, the same group was interviewed again, and the results were mind-blowing. 13% of the class had goals and didn't write them down, were earning twice the amount of the people that had no goals at all. But here's the kicker. The 3% who had written down their goals were earning on average 10 times as much as all the rest of the class combined. So this isn't about money. This isn't about, your fitness. What this says is this is a process that works. And so as, I like to tell people I'm a self-proclaimed goal guru. It's an occupational hazard. When you create a product like Day Designer, when you create a product like Fitbook, you're in the business of setting goals. Right. And that's why I want to be so adamant about whether you use Fitbook. I jokingly tell people, you don't have to use Fitbook. You could use a sticky note for all I care. Just write down your goals. And so that's kind of why we want to talk to people about that today. So with all these facts on paper, what is it, like facts on like why paper works and stuff like that? And there's so many planners out there, so many journals out there, frankly. What is it that sets Day Designer apart when it comes to this process of goal setting?
It's actually really simple. It's about having your goals with you so that you can review them while you're sitting there in the doctor's office. It's about having your goals with you so that, if somebody says, I love workshops. I'm a workshop junkie. And if somebody says, hey, what are your goals this year? You don't go set arbitrary goals, or if you're talking to a coach or a trainer or, any improvement, self-development guru, And I'm into that kind of stuff. And so I'll talk to different people. And for me, I was finding myself, I knew I had goals, but they would say, oh, you need to set goals. And so I'd go set more goals. And then I'd go set more goals. And really, Day Designer is, no matter what happens, I mean, we do continue to finesse and evolve the actual product, but there will always be a spot to summarize your goals, because it's just so important to, we propose that you set about 12 goals, 12 to 18, and you can't remember all that, and right. I think it's important to, on whatever basis works for you, whether it's weekly or monthly or quarterly, go back and remind yourself of the things that you're supposed to be focusing on, and then also give yourself some credit and celebrate. I love it when I look at a goal and I'm like, that's already done, check. Even though there is, and the part of writing it down is, I believe writing it down tucks it into your subconscious.
Yeah.
When you actually write that goal with your hand, it's like you're taking it out of your head, and you're giving your head permission to say, okay, the goal can stop swimming around or floating around. It's in a spot. You know where that spot is. You can refer to it when you need it. Now go use your brain power for making that goal happen. Quit worrying about the goal and actually use the brain power for making it happen.
And I've speaking at a workshop, Junkie. We met each other actually for a brand conference. And I kind of had this epiphany, so to speak, that I've done this already. And I need these again. What's going on? So hold on, just I'm getting a lot of feedback. There we go. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, that's much better.
Okay, perfect. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so one of the things that they talk about in workshops is setting big goals and breaking them down and everything like that. But one thing I kind of want to talk about is, there are all these research ways of setting goals. So having a vision, that's a great concept. But what actually works? And so I've done a lot of research on it, and you and I have kind of been going back and forth about what makes effective goal setting. But everyone's heard of this concept of SMART goal setting. Do you follow that methodology much at all, or do you have your own?
I have my own. I have my own little goal setting method. Do you want me to tell you about it?
Yeah.
Okay. I actually wrote a blog post. If somebody wants to go back and read it, it's not too far back, this January, about setting heart goals instead of SMART goals. So for those who don't know what SMART goals is, I think it's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time sensitive.
Yep.
That's the acronym.
See, Goal Guru.
All that's good. Yeah, all that's really good. So I'm not saying, throw the baby out with the bathwater, but you can, here's how SMART goals works. You're sitting in a personal development class and somebody says, set goals. And you go, okay, well, what do I want to do? Oh, what does she want to do? Oh, that sounds good. I'll write that down. Okay, what does she want to do? Okay, yeah, that's a good goal. I'll write that one down. And that's totally arbitrary. It doesn't relate to your life. It doesn't relate to your values or who you are as a person. Especially I think in the department of weight loss and fitness, we all want to be healthier or lose weight. I feel like in everybody's goal list, there's always some kind of element that relates to living a healthier lifestyle. And supposedly SMART goals are supposed to help you really nail that stuff down. But I felt like with SMART goals, I was just setting random goals. So heart goals is the concept of setting goals that align with who you are as a person and where you want to go. And I challenge people to set goals in 5 different categories. I challenge them to set 3 goals to help themselves. So the H in heart stands for help yourself.
Okay.
And so those might be personal care goals that might relate to fitness or health or spiritual time, quiet times, meditation, things like that.
Read more books.
The second category,
read more books, maybe things like that. Okay.
Yes. Yes. The second category is stands for everyone else, and so that's your people. So for me, the order of that is my kids, because they're young and they need me right now. my husband, relationships, friendships, frankly, specifically business relationships. You know, I love knowing people like you, and nurturing those friendships is really important to me. So that's the second most important thing. The third most important thing is A, and I say it stands for attitude and academics. So this could be more personal development. This could be books. You can put things in whatever category it feels like they fit best for you.
Okay.
If people are in school or they're doing continued education, I tell them to put those priorities and those goals. If they want to learn something new, put that in attitude and academics. The fourth category is resources. So it's all about your time, money, and energy. And again, you may be managing your time up in the help yourself goal, or you may be managing your energy through healthy, practices up in that help yourself category. So resources very often has to do with financial goals for people.
Right.
Where are you going? How are you going to get there in terms of an actual dollar sign, And the final category is trade. And so it's business. And that was very important for me to put business last, because as a serial entrepreneur and lover of big ideas, I mean, it would be way first. But I've learned the hard way that if I don't take care of myself first, I can't take care of everyone else. I can't learn anything new. I can't manage my money. So it felt really selfish. I went through this light bulb moment when I started realizing this, but when I started realizing that it wasn't bad or selfish to put me first, putting me first, actually kind of helps everything to fall into place. It's not a license to be selfish, but it is a license to self-care and, just making sure that I'm not going to lose my mind.
I think that's actually really important. And I have a lot of friends that are like you, who run their own businesses and have 2, 3 kids. And that's kind of what I'm always pushing you to do is, put yourself first, put in your workout, make sure you get your me time, because otherwise you're too exhausted to do anything for anyone else. So when you set hard goals, I thought you meant hard. You need to set hard goals. I'm like, oh my gosh. No. It's heart goals. So help yourself. Everyone else.
Yes.
Resources. No.
Attitude, academics.
Attitude and academics, resources. So you're actually putting last.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yep.
That would be really tough for me. But I think if you position it as that way, is how you prioritize your goals. I think that's really effective.
Right. Yeah.
So what, at a high level of those were, I really, really like that acronym. And I love that it's hard. One thing that I struggle with is when I set a goal, it's conceptual. Implementing it on a daily basis is almost impossible sometimes. I mean, writing it down is great. So I write down my goal for 2015. This is why I don't set resolutions. I set goals, because resolutions are just But I read about this concept and it fascinated me. I was talking to you about it the other day. It's called habit stacking. And I read about it in Experience Life magazine for Lifetime Fitness, which is a phenomenal magazine, by the way. And I read about it again in Entrepreneur Magazine. So I want to kind of talk to you about, if you do anything like this already, but the concept of this, one thing you do already every day, it would trigger another event. So you drink coffee every day.
I drink tea, yes.
You don't drink coffee?
I quit coffee earlier this year.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I think they hate my coffee. Okay. Do you drink coffee every day? That's a whole other conversation.
I would like to. Can we habit stack to get me there?
Yes. Here's the concept behind this habit stack. For example, I'm going to read, I made some examples here. So a planning habit. Every morning while I'm brewing my coffee or tea, I'm going to write down for the day. So you grab your data designer, preferably data designer, write down your food. So something that you're doing every day, making coffee, making tea, triggers you stack those habits together. Others here that I think are kind of cool. I do this one and it's really effective. every Sunday when I'm setting my food for the week, so all my healthy food, all my healthy stuff ready. While that food's cooking, that's when I'm planning my workouts for the week. So what it does is it creates something that you want to do and connects it with something you already do. Does that make sense?
Love it. Yeah, love it. Sounds brilliant.
Right now?
I don't. Like I'm sitting here going, okay, I brush my teeth every day. What else do I, what do I want to do that's a day? The other thing I think is it makes me think, okay, well, what are things that I want to implement daily, and then look at daily habits that I can tie those to? What are things I want to do weekly, and then what are weekly habits that I have to tie? And then what are things I want to do monthly?
Oh, that's a good
idea.
I actually never thought of it because I was kind of prepping for this and thinking, what are some things we could do? So some examples were a push-up habit. So every morning while the shower's warming up, I do 10 push-ups. It's silly, but a nighttime habit is after I brush my teeth, I will journal for 10 minutes. And these are active. You state them as I will. So it's something you just. It's not something I try to do. It's just something I do. Another thing is a gratitude habit. I love this one. Before I get out of bed each morning, I will say out loud one thing. This is what I actually do often. It's a business habit since both of us, have that in common. When I eat my lunch, once I eat my lunch at the desk because I'm a multitasker. That's when I read the Wall Street Journal online, or I'll read some of my favorite business blogs and stuff like that. I always make it a point to send one email to a business contact of mine and said, hey, it's a way for me to keep connected to people, and it's an automatic trigger. I've done this for years. So that's another example of habit stacking. But I love the idea of what do you do on a weekly basis? Like I put my food on a weekly basis, so I can do my workouts. But what do you do on a monthly basis? One thing I've done is silly, but when I would pay my bills every month, at the first of the month, I would go to my day designer and put the greeting cards for birthdays so they needed a mail on the days that they needed a mail. So I would fill them out and mail them that day.
Cool. Yeah.
So my day designer's kind of become a file folder system, just so you know.
Everybody uses it differently. It's really about what works for you.
So I love this concept of habit stacking. Anything else you can think of around that?
I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, what are things that I do? Like I go get gas in the car. I mean, it's almost a challenge to me to think about things that I know I'm going to do, and then just go match those up with things. Look at my goal list and then go match this. So I'll have to sit down with piece of paper, 2 columns, things I do, things I want to do, and like draw lines.
I like that idea, and I really like thinking about it in different time frames. So speaking of time, one thing you talked about earlier was time sensitive. One thing that they've shown research-wise is that there is a certain special number that really makes for the most effective goal setting. And that is, it's not me saying it, this is research based, I read it in Fast Company magazine, it's 90 days. So they found that 90 days are effective goals, and for a couple of reasons. 90-day goals are effective, and I've said this for years. This is why workout programs are almost always 12 weeks. I could rattle off 20 programs right now that are 12 weeks long, because it's a long enough period of time to achieve goals. But it's a short enough period of time. So if you think about setting a year-long goal, you would get frustrated. You've got to break it down, right? But if you set a goal to achieve something in 2 weeks and you don't see the results, you get frustrated, right? So a couple things you're saying about 90-day goals, and I want to hear what increments you set goals in. Life happens, right? So if you don't revisit your goals at least every 90 days, then you don't have the chance to adjust and reset goals if life happens and you're not headed in the right direction. So one thing I do with my day designer is every quarter, I put a note on that page, reset goals. So every 90 days, to look at my goals. So you follow this 90-day concept? What increments do you set goals in?
Yeah, the day designer goals are in the spot where your goals go. It challenges you to think about what are your goals, for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months. It really kind of challenges you to think ahead like that. And I would definitely say that at a minimum, even if people have set a goal for a year, they need to be reflecting on that goal at least once a quarter. I mean, I just think the more you look at them, the more you read through them, the more they're going to be fresh on your brain and I just think that frees up your brain power to actually be able to work on them and make them happen, So yeah, I'm all about it. 90 days.
I'm plugging
and it makes sense from a fitness standpoint.
Sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think from a fitness standpoint, I think it makes sense as well. I've used Fitbook. I am all over it right now, writing down everything I eat.
I love that.
Yeah. Right now, one of my goals is I think you have to quantify it. I want to lose 20 pounds. And so, especially with fitness, the math is really easy. A pound is 3,500 calories. So if I want to lose a pound, I either have to burn 3,500 extra calories a week or stop eating 3,500 extra calories a week. And so it's really easy to kind of sit there and go, how do I cut out 500 calories a day? And then how many days do I need to do that until I'm down 20 pounds? So, I do think.
Well, I wanted to touch on that because
yeah.
being a obsessive compulsive calorie counter for years, part of the reason I created Fitbook was so people didn't have to count those calories. Because what research shows is just by writing down your food, you consume at least 500 to 1,000 fewer calories. So the idea is somebody just using it could reach their goals without having to be like me and so OCD about it. Yeah, but you're right. Taking it and making it almost formulaic versus abstract really does help make the goal more realistic for you.
Right.
So
and I love that,
go ahead.
The whole Couch to 10K app thing, it's something that breaks it down for you, so I love that about Fitbook too, that it really isn't about counting calories. It's really about just writing it down.
Yeah. And one thing that we do with Fitbook is, speaking of the 90-day goals, it's too long if you don't break it down into more achievable goals, which is why you plan on a weekly basis. But again, this isn't necessarily about Fitbook, but it is important that people understand these theories and the reason things work and why we created things to help people. So one of the things we create on a weekly basis with Fitbook, and I'm sure you love this and I want to know how you use it, we integrate weekly rewards. Because there was a British study they did. Is this the British one? No, this is a USC Marshall study. Oh wait, I have to do this for Tiana. Fight on. They did a study at USC Marshall and they found that setting a variety of many goals, like mini, tiny, along the way were actually more effective than setting one big goal. And so that's why in Fitbook, you set a big motivational, like, what do you get at the end of it? But on a weekly basis, what are your mini rewards? So how are you using that?
So cool. With Fitbook, for me right now, the biggest reward for me, and this is just what's motivating me right now, is just, we got a new scale and it calculates, it tells you it doesn't say 150 pounds, it says 150.5. And so right now the motivation is to knock off that 0.5, for some reason, focusing on that is really, and I am focused. This is on this weight loss journey and getting healthy. I'm just tired of it. But one thing that I always tell people about goal setting and it's something I used to do wrong, is I used to set gigantic goals.
Yeah.
And I didn't break them down. And if somebody out there is just getting started in goal setting or maybe they haven't had a very good experience because, you know, they always set gigantic goals. And I mean, I think people get burnt out on goal setting because they set these massive goals and then they never, they just give up. They're like, goals don't work. You know, I wanted to, you know, earn $1 million next year, or I did, or last year, and I didn't do it. And well, how many years? You know, it's going to take you more than a year, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. But if you say, you know, I just want to earn $500 extra next month, you know, like, I mean, in some ways, sometimes if I'm looking at my goals on a monthly basis, like sometimes I'll just grab an extra piece of paper and rewrite them. I feel like the process of writing it down, you know, they've done studies that show that your brain processes things differently with handwriting than it does with typing them out.
Yep.
Yeah. And so sometimes I just, on the goal sheet, like I'll just put, these are things I'm going to do. Like this isn't, and I think somebody from the outside would be like, that's not a goal. Or, you know, if you think goals have to be big, gigantic things, you're going to be like, those aren't goals, you know? Yeah. But I make them easy because another thing that they've done studies to show is that when you put a checkbox by something, it releases dopamine in your brain. So it releases a happy chemical. And so sometimes I realize that in order to get to the, so in order to get to the really big goal, I know that small goal is so important because it's a momentum builder. That dopamine release is going to help build momentum towards the big goal. So the little goals are more important.
Those check marks are fun. I mean, I'm horrible with my day designer. If I did something, I'll go in and I'll make a box and I'll write it and then I'll check it off because I deserve to do that.
Yes.
So, okay. Do you reward yourself though? I might have to get on you a little bit on your Fitbook behavior here. So what if, let's say you went to your scale, which I'm not a huge fan of the scale, not gonna lie, but what if you went to your scale and you dropped that 0.5 in 1 week? What do you get out of that other than accomplishment? Are you rewarding the positive behavior?
No, I mean, I'm not going out and buying a new outfit or, I mean, I'm not super hard on myself because I know if I don't give myself leniency that I will screw up. So, you know, last night I went and had a glass of wine with a friend, you know what I mean? So it's not.
You were serious though when you texted me.
Right. It was like, I am having wine. But so I don't know that I'm the best person to say like, oh, I go out and I get this thing. If I really love the feeling of accomplishing
the goal. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And in terms of fitness, it's about feeling better about myself. In terms of, you know, spiritual goals, which I also have, I know that if I set those, that I relate to people better. My heart is softer. You know, the benefits of achieving the goal, I think are the reward enough for me in a lot of situations.
I think that's actually a good point. What you're saying is the goal in itself is reward.
Yeah. But if somebody's having a hard time getting motivated and, you know, they really, you know, we've really cut back on sugar this year. And, you know, I'd go 4 days and then it'd be like, I'm dying. And then I'd go eat a piece of milk chocolate. Then I'd go 5 days, I'm dying, and I'd eat a piece of milk chocolate. So that also might be, but I did that long enough. And now I'm like, you know, you get to like 10 days and you're like, I don't need the chocolate. We're good. You know, and
you almost wean yourself off of it. Well, and one thing that we talk about, and I'm going to get a little bit on my pedestal about rewards because I think it's so important. Because I'm type A, nothing's ever good enough for myself. And so I found myself using the Fitbook and not using the reward section, and I created it. And I remember a couple of years ago, a lot of my Fitbookers were on a hangout like this asking me, well, what do you do for rewards? How do you do that? And I realized I'm not even using that section. And so I've done a lot of research to kind of find out what changes. You can take something that you would already do and earn it. So it positions it differently. We try not to encourage using food as a reward, almost like kids. You don't want to like bribe them with food because then they think food is good or bad. But, you know, I'll tell you how I'm using rewards right now. I'm using the Fitbook Lite. Are you using Fitbook or Fitbook Lite right now?
I'm using Fitbook regular.
Fitbook regular. Okay. So I'm using Fitbook Lite right now, which is 6 weeks. And I set a goal for 6 weeks because I have a country concert I'm going to for 3 days with my girlfriends. I'm really excited. For every day I reach my goal, I'm giving myself, you know, there's the 4 tweaks in the Fitbook Lite. I earn $4 every day for reaching each tweak. Okay. So at the end of each week, I earn $28 if I followed my goals. At the end of the 6 weeks, I have money to go shopping for my concert. So it's a very little amount of money, but I'm also visually putting dollars in a jar so I can see. It makes it more real.
Yeah.
Another way that I encourage people to encourage themselves and to reach goals is, let's say there's a new book you want that you would just go buy yourself anyway. Make it your weekly goal. If I reach my goals, I'll go buy this book. Or for moms, I encourage this all the time. You know, if I reach my goal, I get an hour away to go get a pedicure. It's something you might do for yourself, but it's something that you earn. So it's a way that your mind positions it. And that's what they found in the USC study was setting those mini rewards are so much more effective.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. So the other thing I want to talk about was the accountability. Do you have an accountability buddy or a mentorship group or anything like that?
Not for my personal goals, I don't.
For business, you do, though.
Yeah, I have a women's business group.
Okay.
There's some of us in there that are more goal driven than others, but
and
yeah.
Is there an accountability system built into that?
There's a support system. I don't think anybody's going to hold my feet to the fire if I don't, you know, lose my 20 pounds or whatever.
I will.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. You can kick my rear.
Well, one thing, there's this infographic that I saw in Entrepreneur Magazine, and I actually wrote an entire blog post about it because it was this article called Habits of the World's Smartest People. And it was this infographic showing all the things that brilliant people do. So the title of my blog post is Why Entrepreneurs Are Smart. And because one of the things that they talked about was people accomplish goals only 43% of the time if they don't write them down. You increase that to 64% if you write it down. And then if you share it with a friend and write it down, you up your likelihood of reaching that goal by 76%. So just the process of putting pen to paper and telling someone, you're 76% more likely to reach a goal.
That's cool. That's really good.
So that process in itself is something that we encourage people to do, not just for fitness goals, but for life goals as well. So the thing I love about that number is 76% is also the percent of people who lose weight in the first 12 weeks using Fitbook. So I'm sure you'll lose weight with Fitbook, so you'll be part of that awesome 76%.
I love it.
I believe in you.
I've already lost weight. It's awesome.
Oh, that's so good. Well, I'm proud of you. So that is kind of, you know, some of the, you know, this idea of habit stacking, the idea of making things measurable, the idea of, like you said, breaking it down into smaller, more achievable goals is so important. But I really want to get you to take your whole, like, I know you said you set heart goals, but I really want to understand, you know, what are the 3 most important things you do, if you can narrow it down to 3, that you feel like takes you from chaos and like mayhem of being a mom, running these businesses, to actually being able to achieve your goals? Like, you actually mentioned something about your email before we started the chat. That actually was a brilliant concept for prioritization.
I mean, I feel like there's so many little things that I could say. I mean, a couple of them I've already mentioned, like embrace the checkbox. Like
embrace the checkbox. I love that.
Yeah, just get that dopamine release going. set easy goals. Like they don't have to be big, gigantic things, like really make it achievable, you know? Things that a couple things I do. I am not afraid to scrap a goal that's just not working. If I'm doing a quarterly check-in or a weekly check-in or something, and if I'm being really honest with myself, that goal is not working because of my family's lifestyle or because of my schedule, I just kill it. I mean, some people sort of feel like they have to do it, you know, and I guess it depends on personality type, but just because I set a goal doesn't mean that I can't take it back and say, you know, I'm better off focusing on this goal over here. So I try to be really forgiving of myself in those things.
Yeah.
I would recommend a lot of self-forgiveness in the goal process. So that's one thing I would recommend. Another tip would be, you know, I can tell you about the inbox. I use Gmail, and I have 3 sections in Gmail. The first section is my starred, and anything that takes over 2 minutes, I think there's like in David Allen's Getting Things Done. Have you ever?
Yes. I love that. I love that process. Yes.
So I'm pretty sure that's where I got the 2-minute rule. Like if I'm going through my email and it's going to take me more than 2 minutes to respond to it, it gets a star. Yeah. If it's urgent and I really need to do it that day, I put it in an inbox smart today. And then if it's, and I could probably do like a whole webinar on how I set up my inbox because Gmail is, you know, weird. And then I have a section called Not Now. And things that aren't going to move the needle. I hate saying no to people. It feels, you know, especially if some sweet person from YouTube, you know, emails and they're like, I really want to review the Day Designer, you know, there's not always a clean answer. Like sometimes we don't have them to send, and you know, sometimes we've sent too many, we can't send any, you know. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to respond. It goes into Not Now. And then when I have some energy, I can go into the Not Now box and clear it out, you know. But it's a way to release me from all the incoming requests and focus on what I really need to do to move the needle and to get towards the goals, you know.
Well, and I like the idea of prioritizing. And yeah, you're right. Getting things done, I think it's do, delegate, delay, and don't do. And I think that last one is something that we, especially as women, have a hard time saying no. But I've been really focused on this concept of what just isn't important. And I went to a Smart Success seminar with Chalene Johnson, and she talks about all your goals should align with your key priorities, which sounds like a simple concept, but so often we set goals for who we want to be and where we want to go and what we want to do, but they may not be in support of what's really important in our life, right? So I may want to go, you know, live in Italy for 2 years, but my family is really important to me and I wouldn't be around them. So is that a good goal? So one thing that we have a yearly goal setting meeting with my team. And one thing we had a whole session on is not what are we going to do in 2015? What are we going to stop doing in 2015? And looking at it completely from a different perspective was really cool. So for example, we looked at all the products that are selling well, the products that aren't selling as well, that we were spending time on, that weren't giving us the same return, because that time takes away from promoting the things that do well and support our customers in a way that serves them better. So we went over, you know, certain social media channels we're just not going to do anymore. Certain products we're going to stop making. So have you ever looked at your business or your life with your family and said, okay, these are just things we're not doing anymore?
Yeah, every to-do list. Every time I look at a to-do list and I start to feel overwhelmed, I'm like, just kill a couple things.
Let's be real. Just kill it.
Yeah. I mean, just, you know, I mean, I think there are always things on our to-do list that we feel like we have to do, or, and there's I can almost always find, you know, depending on how long the to-do list is, you know, at least 1 to 3 things. Or, you know, or sometimes I'll say kill it and I'll be like, I can delegate it. You know, I don't have to kill it. I really can. But yeah, I mean, I think it is important to, And I mean, I did this with my to-do list and not even my goals. Like I just, sometimes I'll take my goal list and my to-do list and I'll put them side by side and be like, what's on my to-do list that's not helping me get to these things? And so it's like aligning my daily list with my big overarching, like these are the things I want to do this year.
And are they in alignment and in support?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, are they supporting each other?
And I think that's a good example of, like in business, I'm sure you can relate to this. How many social media channels are out there? And as an entrepreneur, which ones are we going to do? I mean, there's just so many. And I remember when I was talking to you in Nashville, and you told me what percentage of your revenue is coming from different social media streams. And I realized I didn't even know. I went back and I found out that I was spending a lot of time on Facebook and it wasn't making any money. And not that our only reason for using social media is to make money, but then I was also realizing there was not much engagement. So why are we doing that? Yeah. So I think really taking a step back and saying, okay, what am I doing that's getting the desired result? Like I said, of the overall goal. For us, social media is about interaction. It's that personal connection. Because I'm sure you can relate to this. We love our customers, and yet we don't have that tangible, like we can't talk to them. So social media for me is a great way to interact with people. So at our goal setting meeting, we decided what social media channels are we just going to stop and which ones are we going to do. So we're doing that across the business. And I think that's something we can do across our personal lives as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So an example of that might be, have you heard the saying, you're like, sometimes you have to let go of friendships that aren't in support of your goals in your life. Because they take time. Have you ever had a time where you had a personal goal and you realized you had to stop doing certain things in your life, even if it was a hard choice?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely.
So we're kind of doing that from a business perspective, but I'm looking at how I can do that from a personal perspective as well.
Yeah. Right. Are you asking me to talk about something like that?
If you would like to talk about it, you can.
Sometimes I think it's, for me and trying to achieve my goals, one of the things that, when my husband and I were, struggling, just with this whole family and financial thing a couple years ago, we went and saw a marriage counselor. And he did personality testing. And I really think it's interesting. We both scored very low on the self-discipline side of things, which is going to make it very hard to achieve a goal.
Yeah.
And the secret to, so I had to build my self-discipline up before I was going to be able to see more progress in my goals. And the secret to creating self-discipline is forcing yourself to do things that you don't want to do. So sometimes I just like to take my shoes off by the back door, and I don't like to carry them all the way to the closet. And I'll be in the middle of just dumping them, and I'll be like, I don't want to take them to the closet. And so I do little things like that it requires consciousnness. Like you have to be aware and intentional. But for me, I think goal setting is part of just the big overarching personal development picture. And I just feel like it's the main idea is to always be moving forward, even if it's not on the goal. Like, let it be something that's going to help you move forward in the goals, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like self-discipline. It's just strengthening your mental muscle, really, because it's something that takes practice over time, for sure. So I think you're good on the discipline part in that you've created over a dozen companies, and you definitely get goal setting. The one thing I want to touch on about goals specifically, and this we're talking about balancing our time and all this, is I get this question all the time, and I've had this question since day one, was what about technology? And why did you create a paper product? And the truth is, I am my customer, and I know you are your own customer too. There is a huge majority of people that still would rather use pen and paper. But I think you and I are both of the belief that technology can actually complement that process greatly. So talk to me about how you personally use your Day Designer and how technology integrates with that.
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of people think that I don't use an app or I don't use my Mac calendar or something, I do. I actually use my Mac calendar on my phone for everything. It's simple, it's easy, it interfaces with my computer. I've tried Google Calendar and I have all kinds of problems getting stuff to sync, and you know, it's just the KISS method, you know, keep it simple, silly. I'm just all about less is more. So I'll put my appointments on my Mac calendar, excuse me, and then I actually use my day designer to design my day. So I'll look at my Mac calendar in the morning and then I'll start filling out my day. And every now and then I'll look at my to-do list and it's getting really out of hand. I'm like, okay, you're going to have to budget time. You know, so I do move to-dos forward.
Onto the calendar.
Yeah. Yeah. But I use, those are the two things I use. We keep a little planner for our babysitter and I'll write school things on that, but we keep you know, we definitely try to streamline things from a family standpoint. But we've tried different apps, like we've tried Cozy for when is it trash day or when do we need to go get groceries? Like, you know, it's a family app, like my husband's on it and stuff, and sends you reminders. It's too much. You know, at some point in time, I feel like an app is just another thing. You know, for me, part of the discipline is keep it as much as possible in one spot. And for me, that's my day designer for the things I need to do, you know, and then my Fitbit for things I'm eating and working out.
Well, and I think that's like, I'm a huge fan of apps, and I'm like you, I use the calendar app. I'm a new iPhoner. Like I've only had it a year, so it's like the greatest thing.
Welcome.
I know.
Yes.
Fiona convinced me it's the way to go, and I'll never go back. But I will say that the calendar, I use that for everything. But you're right, I use the day designer in a very different way. In that, okay, I will take notes. Any meetings I go to, I take notes for that day. Because if I ever want to go back and look at my notes, I know what day I had the meeting on because my calendar tells me. Other things I do is, you know, I like the idea that it asks you like the 3 most important things to do for the day, because it really makes me think about, hey, here are the 3 things I have to get done. The reason I don't like apps for my to-do is did I take notes in Evernote or Trello or Workflowy or a Word doc or a spreadsheet? I can't find them. I cannot find them anywhere. If you have one place for everything, it's really easy to find them. So yeah, I use them in that way. And one thing I do with my Fitbook is in the Fitbook Lite, we remind people plan your workouts and add them to your calendar. So whether that's your day designer or your phone, when I'm planning my workouts for the week in the little planning section, I have my calendar right there, so I know when I have meetings. I know if I'm traveling, I need to work out before I fly out, or I need to book a class. I book all the classes on all the apps, and then everything's in my calendar. Because if you don't put them in your calendar, a workout isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Do you add your workouts to your calendar?
They're in my calendar. Absolutely. Yes.
Good.
And I have a trainer. She texts me too, which helps.
Well, that's accountability right there. You said you didn't have yes, that's accountability. One other thing with technology is this. I think technology can enhance the experience of using planners and using, you know, the Fitbook and things like that. So, you know, for years people said, "Where's your app?" And I don't think that I wrote a blog post on this. It cracks me up. Why would I create a free app that replaces the revenue of what pays my bills? and you know, just from a business perspective, that doesn't make sense. But my first response to people is because paper works. They did a study and they found that the average length of time that someone uses an actual fitness tracking app, so not Jawbone or not, you know, the trackers, but like where you log your food and calories and everything like that, is 3 weeks. The reason is how many apps do you think you have on your phone?
Oh,
probably
hundreds.
Yeah.
I had to get the bigger phone.
They get lost because anytime you start using an app, there's a bigger and better app out there. So we created a goal setting app, which was a complement to the Fitbook, but not a replacement of. So you go through the process of answering all these questions designed by me. So if you don't like them, sorry. It's literally supposed to emulate sitting down with me and asking what your goals are. And then at the end, it gives you a little PDF that you print out. And now you have your 12-week goals. And you can now use the Fitbook to track your progress. So it's not we're anti-technology. It's we want to use technology to complement, not replace.
Yeah.
So speaking of apps, what are your three favorite apps? And after we answer these questions, we've got a big reveal, and we're going to call it a day.
Yes. Yes. And I'm going to have to get, I'll tell you mine, and then I have to get my charger and plug my computer in. Number one favorite app is a photography filtering app called Pick Tap Go.
I use it now because
I love it.
by the way.
Yes. I love it. It makes your pictures so pretty. As a designer, a person with a visual eye, I'm really attracted to pretty pictures, so I love that.
So that's Pick Tap Go, PICTAP.
Okay. Yeah. Probably the second most used app on my phone is called Mailbox, and it's just my email app. I don't use the app. I like Mailbox, so love that. Would be lost without it. And then the third app, I use it more on my computer than I do on my phone, but it's Evernote because I copy articles that I read on the internet. The more I've used it, the more I've used it. Like it's one of those things that I got, and the first time around using it, I was like, well, I don't understand how this is going to work, but I've got a lot in Evernote now and love it. So,
okay, I'm gonna have to literally pay you to teach me to use it as much as I have the the little journal that you take pictures and it integrates with Evernote. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my charger. Hang on.
Yeah, get your charger. I'm gonna just keep talking to your chair. But I have the journal. I have a Plus premium subscription with Wall Street Journal, with Evernote, everything, and I still haven't quite figured it out. So I'm still it's still perplexing to me. The three apps that I can't live without. Hold on, let me get my list. Well, I can tell you off the top of my head. There's this app called Trello. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it. I've never used it.
It's great for project management, especially among teams. So you move cards around, so you can have a board. So we have a marketing board, a sales board, a product development board, a Angela's to-do list board. But what I like about it is you can move things, you can tag people, and it's a really great way for prioritizing a lot of people on one project. So that's called Trello, and you can use the app on your phone or on your computer. I like, I know it's not a productivity app, but I like Mint. It helps me manage my personal finances easy because as an entrepreneur, I don't have time. And the other one that I really like is Sprout Social for all of our social media. It really helps us manage things across multiple platforms.
Cool. I'll have to check all three of those out. I've never heard of them.
Yeah, they're so fun. So just so everybody on the call too, this is recorded, so you guys can do this at a later time, and I'm also going to be providing a link to it on my blog with all the links and the studies that we talked about, Whitney. We're going to put on the website so people can refer that again. So without further ado, I wanted to tell people about part of the reason we have you, Whitney, on the call today is you are the designer of the first ever designer Fitbook. We're launching our we're launching our series today, and so we're going to do a little reveal here in a second, guys. But Whitney, do you have yours there?
I do.
All right. Why don't you do the unveiling of the first designer Fitbook that you yourself created? It is seriously the cutest Fitbook ever.
This is our Carrie floral pattern that we introduced last year as limited edition, and it was one of our best-selling patterns last year. And we added some Fitbook red to the flowers, and we've got you did the Fitbook red binding. It's so cute. And so I just think it's bright and fun, and I just think it screams energy, which is kind of what you need to go make yourself get up and do a workout in the morning. So
now you named it after Carrie on Sex and the City, right?
That's right, because it's kind of feisty.
We are naming this so you guys can get up close and personal. We are naming this the Whitney after you. So the first designer fit book in our series, just so people know, we only printed 100 of these. There are 100.
Yeah.
Once they're gone, they're gone. They're not coming back. So they're actually available for pre-order now. The website is getfitbook.com/designerfitbook, and you can see images. One thing for people to understand, the inside of the Fitbook is the same as it's always been, the same pages you know and love. It's only the cover that is changing. We are, with Whitney, launching the first designer series. We'll be releasing new Fitbooks every 3 months. So get on our list and you'll get a first grab at the designer Fitbook. So the one thing that's important to know is anybody that pre-orders this, they will be shipping on March 31st. If you go to our website now and pre-order, head over to Instagram in 10 minutes, give us a few minutes. But we're going to be posting a picture on the Fitbook Instagram, which is just at Fitbook. And then which Instagram should people go to on yours? The Day Designer?
The Day Designer, which is at the Day Designer.
And the Day Designer. We'll both be posting pictures. Now, here's the deal, guys. If you pre-order one of the Whitney Fit books, you have to pre-order, because if you don't order one, you don't get this. But 2 people will actually win a Whitney Fit book signed by both myself and Whitney, and we'll announce the winners on Monday. So only 2. We're really excited to be announcing this. It's a fun thing. Whitney, you designed it. Adorable. I told you to have fun with it, and you did. And so honored to have you do that for us.
So happy to do it. Thank you, guys.
So yes, so thank you for that. So yeah, go sign up. It's getfitbook.com/day, or I'm sorry, I'm thinking Day Designer /designer fitbook. You can pre-order one. Go to Instagram in like 10 minutes. Give us a few minutes. And then if you didn't have a chance to be live on this call, we will be having this pre-recorded. It'll be on the same URL. The last thing I want to announce is on Sunday at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, I personally will be hosting a goal-setting tweet chat to talk about Paper Rocks on Twitter. So 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on Sunday, join us. I just want to thank you, Whitney, for your time. Any closing thoughts on what you want to leave people with from our chat today?
I thank you guys for tuning in and listening, and I love these things, and I always leave super inspired, and I hope everybody else feels a little bit more motivated. I know I do. It's been good for me today.
Well, you are I look up to you as an entrepreneur, as, just a woman. And I'm just so honored that you spend your time with us. I know you have 3 little ones wanting mommy right now. So thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.